The MSVR Focus Cup Championship is brought to you in association with swanflight.com, international flight case specialists. Welcome along to the Championship, our first event for 2021, the MSVR Focus Cup Championship, brought to you in association with swanflight.com, international flight case specialists. And Barry is already down in the paddock catching up with some of the gossip.
So here we are, first round of the season, husband and wife team, both driving Swan Flight cars. So we've got Claire and Richard. So I believe you guys have been doing this for about 3 years. What first got you into it, Claire?
We used to race off-road and we were looking for something different, so we decided that we quite like the idea of ride and drive, and we thought we'd try our first hand at tarmac racing through joining the Focus Cup, and they'd just started. We've been doing this 3 years with them, and we thought, yeah, let's have a go. So, and here we still are, so that's how good it is.
Why the Focus Cup? I mean, there's plenty of stuff out there, you know, of varying qualities, but why the Focus Cup?
I think really it was what we found available first. We did look at a few other things, but we liked the fact that everything was on an even keel. We like the fact that it's down to driver skill, and that for us is really important. If we win or if we do well, we want to know that we've done that on merit. So that was really one of the main reasons. And I think we both quite like the idea of having a go at a diesel as well. So
Richard, if we come to you, I mean, family teams running two cars isn't that unusual at the moment. Husband and wife team is a bit more unusual, but so how does that actually work out when you're actually sat on the grid?
It generally works out fine. We have a good understanding. Claire will hold her own on racetrack, and she knows, you know, she doesn't have to move over for me or anything. Or the same with me. We're two racing drivers when we go on the track, so it works. So
neither of you trying to mentor the other one, then you just get on with your own stuff.
No, I do. Yeah, I mean, one of us will help the other. We discuss when we get back in the van. We discuss, you know, you're struggling here, I'm struggling there, and we're both throw things around. So yeah, we do help each other.
So Mark, we haven't seen each other for a little while. Last time out, we saw you with the autograss at Scarborough there, and very competitive too. Focus Cup, you're here for the season. What got you into this?
Yeah, it's back after 9 years on the circuit. I mean, yeah, we had a go at the autograss. I love the autograss. It's great sport. But my passion is on the circuits. And yeah, I mean, I just think that Lewis in the next village to us said he was doing it, and we'd seen it at the Auto Sport Show again with my son when we were there a couple of years ago with Senna, and it looked like a great championship. And with Lewis doing it, it was just the other week we were having a beer, and I said, well, do you know what? I'll come and join you, and we'll do it.
Now, lots of success in various disciplines over the years in motorsport doesn't always guarantee you a place in this one particularly. But what's your realistic aims for the season?
Well, I mean, for this weekend, score points. I mean, fifth in qualifying is pretty good. So yeah, we need to score decent points for the first two races. It's a long year. I've got older and wiser, so you just need, we're in for the season. So keep just scoring consistent points. It's all about trying to win the championship at the end of the year. So that's what it's all about. So hopefully today it'd be nice for a podium, but if it doesn't come, then we'll just do our best.
So Lewis, great to see you at the start of this season. Now, first time out, first race I believe coming up for you.
Yeah, first meeting for me, first time doing any track racing, so yeah, looking forward to it.
How did qualifying go?
I was very happy, very happy. Like I say, we were testing yesterday, just going out and trying to find a little bit more each time, and yeah, very happy with qualifying so far.
Got a mix of drivers on this grid, some established ones, been doing it for 2 or 3 years, and obviously some newcomers like your good self there. Now, your previous history is quad bikes. I'm not quite sure how that's going to help you with this.
Not very much, I don't think. I've pretty much had to forget all my old racecraft and start again. So yeah, it's quite exciting being, it's like sort of first day back at school again. So yeah, quite enjoyable.
One very good thing about this series is the fact that it's a level playing field. It's not about Chadwick racing, it's all about driver ability basically, so that gives you good confidence as you go into the season.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Simon and Rob and the rest of the guys have done an amazing job with all the cars, and they're so balanced. And you know, it's just nice to jump in a level playing field where you know the competition's there. There's some fantastic drivers that I've sort of seen so far, and but just knowing that you know all the cars are equal and it's all down to driver skill is what makes it really enjoyable.
Okay, race 1 and P1. Scott, good position after qualifying. How do you feel?
Yeah, all good. Car felt good. There were a big improvement in times from yesterday. I think as the day progressed yesterday, it was getting hotter and hotter, which the tyres were getting a little bit too sticky, overpowering the tyres a little bit. So today, nice fresh morning, plenty of rubber laid down yesterday for us, and yeah, some pretty quick times straight out the bat. It looks like everybody improved on the practice times, so I knew that it needed to be in the 125s for pole. I were hoping it would be probably closer to the 125.5. I ended up having to do 125.2. There's probably a 124 in the car in qualifying, but we'll see how the race goes, and hopefully can keep it in front for the first corner and lead from there. But that's the plan, but everybody has a plan until the checkered flag.
John, first race of the season, but first race overall for you as well.
It is indeed, yes. A little bit nervous. First day on the track itself, you know, so qualifying this morning was a bit of a new experience. I'm not at the back, so doing something right. So just see how it goes. A bit nervous about the first corner.
Get the first couple of corners out of the way, settle down a little bit. It's all about getting to that flag rather than trying to win.
This is true, yeah. My aim today is to finish the race. If I can finish not from the back, then great.
Scott Parkin starting from the front on pole with Simon Rudd alongside. Then it's Gary Mitchell and Richard Avis. Mark Proctor 5th from Spencer Fortag. Branko Kiprovski 7th from Charlie Barr. Then Simon Tomlinson and Claire Avis. 11th is PJ Gardner, 12th Simon Watt, Lewis Ryan, John Baker, Simon Walton, Simon Watts and Robert Morgan completing the grid. Robert Morgan brings the safety devices 7 machine onto the grid, 17th position for him. So a little bit of work to do. All of these cars, of course, very evenly matched, as you've heard in the pre-race interviews. And that's the appeal of this championship, along with the fact that you can just arrive and drive. Points given for qualifying as well. We'll talk more about that and indeed the calendar as we get through the race, but we're ready for the start of the 2021 campaign. Green flag from the back of the field. The lights are on the gantry already. Out go the lights. Scott Parkin versus Simon Rudd off the line. Simon on the outside line in light blue and white. Gary Mitchell comes up into second place. Richard Avis in 77, right of shot on the second row, looking to sweep through into third position as well. So it is Parkin from Mitchell as they go into Redgate for the first time. Everybody behaving themselves. In car with Mark Proctor. Great to see Proctor back with us, and that's Charlie Barr having a look around the outside line. Simon Rudd being challenged by the man 5th on the grid, Mark Proctor. Mark had one of several drivers to have times deleted from qualifying due to track limits. I did have a clerk of the course explaining to me that if you don't do track limits at least once in qualifying, you're not trying. So there were a lot of drivers out there trying over the course of the qualifying session. I think we had 4 drivers who had times negated, but nonetheless Procky 5th on his return to racing. Branko Kiprovski also had a time deleted. Claire Avis did as well, plus Simon Waugh. Talking of Claire Avis, checked up a little bit on the line. Let's see what happened. Okay, so before lights out, Claire anticipated the start, then stopped the car, got going again when the lights went out, so that's why we saw Claire on the start having a few problems. I don't think there'll be a penalty there because she did correct what she did wrong as Branko Kiprovski. Great to have the Macedonian back in the championship. Did 2 races with the Focus Cup in 2019, the inaugural season, as Charlie Barr gets the run down the straight. Looks on the outside line here of Mark Proctor, but Procky knows he's got the power maxed 66 car on the right line going into Redgate, holds on to it. Charlie's going to have to find another way through here. So those 2 cars just at the back of this duo we're looking at. at the minute. 77 car Richard Avis, the man from Eastbourne, running in third place at the moment, and front row starter Simon Rudd with work to do. In car again with Charlie Barr. So up into Schwant's corner in this first race. Great to be back racing, isn't it, in 2021. And Donington, a great track, one of MSV's circuits. Our Spencer Fortag has a look for second position, but it's Gary Mitchell in the Mintex car who holds sway at the moment. If these two start battling, it's going to really play into the plan for Scott Parkin, who had a good lead already off the start. And a dice for second, well, they'll slow each other up. Perhaps you've got a little bit of dust on the back where someone, I think, has maybe had an off. Spencer Fortag locks up going into the chicane, desperately trying to gain ground on Gary Mitchell, but it all came to naught. Now Mark Proctor's starting to turn things up and put a bit of pressure on Simon Rudd. It's going to shape up to be a very good race indeed. We're side by side there. Fortag now coming under, or putting under pressure, the 77 car of Richard Avis. Can't quite get close enough. Simon Rudd watching as well. Mark Proctor is next up. Branko Kiprovski in the mix as well, just at the back of this group in the early stages of the race. He is in the yellow car at the back of the group as they come down through the Craner curves once again. A little bit of dust being kicked up there, I think, from Spencer Fortag through the old hairpin. Procky close to Rudd here. He's going to try and get a run. So along Starkey's straight into Schwant's. Is he going to make a go on the inside here? Takes a slightly wider line in, but there's no room for a cutback for Mark Proctor. And at the moment, these guys in these very evenly matched cars just having to play a bit of cat and mouse with each other. Procky might have to do a bit of late braking down into the chicane. Okay, so Simon Walton, series organiser, coming out of the pit lane, qualified in 15th place. So a little bit of work to do for Simon as the battling continues coming into the chicane once again. Kiprvoski busy putting pressure there on the 37 car of Charlie Barr. Branko Kiprovski, well, he's still piling the pressure on, looks down the inside line, there was a gap there. Charlie Barr is past, so Kiprovski through and into 7th place. He's going to be chasing Mark Proctor now. Charlie Barr will fight back for sure in the 37 car. That's the green car chasing the yellow machine down through the Craner curves. We're looking at 3rd, 4th and 5th coming towards us at the moment. 2nd place Gary Mitchell goes through shot as well through the old hairpin. Charlie Barr in the Team Dynamics machine. A lot of touring car connections in this championship, and it's the Powerflex car still out front. Scott Parkin doing the business. Gary Mitchell in P2. Here comes 3rd, 4th and 5th. They're nearly up to battling, but the real battle's going on behind at the moment for 6th position, which I think is headed by Mark Proctor. Let's have a look and see. Yes, it is Procky in the Power Maxed car who just nips into shot. Coming down towards the Roberts chicane once again. Scott Parkin hasn't put a wheel wrong so far. Managed to keep that gap to Gary Mitchell. Mitchell doing a good job to get into 2nd. And a challenge on here. Spencer Fortag having a look for 4th position. The battling still going on here now. You can see Charlie Barr's got back in front of Kiprvoski. So Branko coming under pressure from PJ Gardner. Mirrors full of white. We go in car with PJ, who's going to have a look down the inside line. That's of course where Branko managed to make the pass a little earlier on, but Branko's got that covered, but runs a little bit wide there, out over the curbs, leaves a gap, and PJ Gardner, the Leeds man, is going to go through. They're still side by side. This is a great race between the pair of them coming down through the curves, but PJ Gardner does complete the move, gets in front, bottom part of the curves, coming now down into the old hairpin, and gets a couple of lengths away from Branko at the moment. Branko qualifying in 2nd place, now 7th place, I beg your pardon, drops down to 9th. Gary Mitchell goes through in 2nd. 3rd place is Richard Avis. Spencer Fortag still all over the back of Simon Rudd at the moment, so a really good dice between these two. Wonder how this is going to play out. Really good shot there of the undulations that you get here at Donington Park. There are plenty elsewhere, but even on this straight coming down into the Roberts chicane, you have that. So Rudd looks at the outside line. I think that was as much about trying to carry momentum into and subsequently out of the Roberts chicane. Not quite as close as I thought he was going to be on the exit. And Rudd doing a good job at the moment in the 42 car. And you can see Mark Proctor closing in on this battle as well now. So Procky in the Power Max car starting to put pressure on Spencer Fortag. Fortag was getting closer to Simon Rudd, but now he's coming under a little bit of pressure himself from the former British touring car star Mark Proctor. See what Mark can do. His trademark 66 number. Simon Waugh going through on the inside line there of number 10 John Baker, who we spoke to on the grid. So Waugh and Baker dicing it out. That's for 12th place. Ahead of them is Simon Tomlinson. Lewis Ryan ahead of them as well. So you can see Lewis coming down through. Simon Tomlinson in the black and fluorescent yellow car. And then the Liqui Moly 22 car of Simon Waugh. Regular in the championship, comes from Colchester. And John Baker from Kent enjoying his race as well. Through the left-hander at Schwantz, right-hander at McLean's. Just grabbing a little bit of curb there, still trying to close down. And it's a little bit of a cliche, but of course there are battles absolutely everywhere in the field. And that's the beauty of this championship, along with many others in British motorsport at the moment. You'll find someone to race with regardless of ability or experience. Meanwhile, back towards the front we go. I think Gary Mitchell has closed in a tad. The red car getting closer to the lead Powerflex machine. Scott Parkin still delivering well. Scott from Barnsley, MSV Track Day Trophy champion 2019, raced at Seat Ibiza. And again, you have to say, full credit to the MSVR Focus Cup Championship for attracting champions from other formulae. We've got touring car drivers like Mark Proctor, Track Day Trophy champion here, Scott Parkin, who's come in and doing a super job. His brother Ryan, his twin brother Ryan, raced with us last year in December and also raced in the Track Day Trophy Championship as well. We go in car with the man in P2. It does look closer, doesn't it, from the onboard? Very often onboards accentuate the gap, but it looks closer even from here. So Gary Mitchell has made a little bit of an inroad into the race leader's advantage. Third position still Richard Avis. Richard will be pleased to have moved up one place from his starting position in the swanflight.com car. Meanwhile, Mark Proctor being closed down on again by Charlie Barr. These two, I think, about to renew their battle. This has been going on since the first run down through the Craner curves, and so far it's been race long. So here is Claire Avis. We saw Claire having her anticipated start earlier on, enjoying her race with Simon Watts here, the 60-year-old from Preston, Simon Watts. And Claire lost out because of that start, so was 10th on the grid. Claire currently running in 14th position. Here is Charlie Barr. Again, he's had this rear view of Mark Proctor for much of the race, as we've described, and still trying to close in at the moment. Procky the head of this trio. PJ Gardner is the third of them. They've put a little bit of space between themselves and Branko Kiprovski, who's running in 9th. He'll pick up some decent points anyway, will Branko. And incidentally, points scored on not only on the two races, but equal points on qualifying as well. You obviously don't get the can't have an individual fastest lap in quali. Outright fastest lap from the session gets you the same as a race win. And there are bonus points for fastest lap in the races. So the championship table, when you look at it, it is about the racing, but equally you can't sandbag in qualifying. You have to put in a good time to get those championship points. So Scott Parkin was our championship leader coming into race number 1. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but didn't have time, but that clarifies it. And again, it's another added dimension that I find fascinating about this championship. PJ Gardner still trying to close down on Charlie Barr. Charlie's lost a wee bit of ground. Procky pulling away at the moment in the Power Max machine. So Mark looking relatively comfortable in that 66 car just now. Still Scott Parkin, the leader. Best lap for Scott on lap 5 was 125.468. But Spencer Fortag's put in a quick lap and 125.078. The race leader only 3/10 away from his best time in qualifying as we ride on board with Gary Mitchell once again. The second place car, the red machine you're looking at now, that was our onboard car. Into Roberts we go. Third place not that far away as well. Richard Davies, little mistake there from Gary Mitchell. Determination, you have to say, as much as anything else. Across the line, onto the last lap. So 2 miles to go, just under 2 miles of the Donington Park National Circuit for the opening race of the 2021 Focus Cup Championship campaign, and it's been a fascinating race to watch. Spencer Fortag still there with Simon Rudd immediately ahead of him. It's still close between those two. Let's see whether Spencer can finally make the move on the last lap. Is he going to time it to perfection and make the move on the Cartec machine in front of him? So along Starkey Straight and coming into Schwantz, in car with Simon Watt, who you can see now has caught Simon Tomlinson and busy challenging here for 11th place. So fair play Simon Waugh. There was a fair gap between the pair of them earlier on in the race, maybe about the midpoint. The Liqui-Moly car has closed in. I wonder if he's going to get close enough to have a look maybe at the run down the straight before the Roberts chicane. And that is where the race leader is. Scott Parkin makes his way down into the chicane for the last time. It's going to be a lights to flag victory, but he's worked hard. Spencer Fortag's got fastest lap, but checkered flag will go to Scott Parkin, who wins round 1 of the championship. Gary Mitchell in second, just 6/10 down. Richard Davies third from Simon Rudd in 4th position, then Spencer Fortag. Mark Proctor crosses the line now. What about that battle between Simon Waugh and Simon Tomlinson? Well, the two Simons, it is Tomlinson that beats Waugh, but it was a close run thing at the end. And a battle that closed up towards the end of the race. Following them is going to be John Baker in 13th position, completing his first race. Here is Claire Avis, followed by Simon Watts. A lot of Simons in this race. And Robert Morgan will be in 16th place, the Amazon Prime car of Simon Watts, completing the top 15. And 16th place going to Robert Morgan. So one non-finisher, which was Simon Walton, as Simon Parkin acknowledges, not the crowd, they're not back with us yet, but certainly a wave of appreciation and acknowledgement to the marshals. Here's the result. Parkin from Mitchell and Avis, Simon Rudd 4th, Spencer Fortag 5th and fastest lap, Mark Proctor next, PJ Gardner and Charlie Barr. Branko Kiprovski ahead of Lewis Ryan, Simon Tomlinson, Simon Watt, John Baker 13th from Claire Avis, Simon Watts and Robert Morgan.
Scott, P1 to actually winning the race. That's a pretty good start to the season.
Yeah, I don't think it can get much better than that. I've looked at the timing and I didn't get the fastest lap, so maybe that's one thing to try and improve on. But nobody wants to be the guy who's winning the race comfortably and then puts it in the gravel trying to chase a lap time, which there's obviously points available for that, and whether further into the season they'll be needed. But I think for how comfortable I were in the lead, there was no point trying to push too hard and trying to get that fastest lap. So I just maintained the pace, just made sure that I wasn't pushing too hard, kept keeping an eye on the gap behind, and it was yo-yoing a little bit, but still confident that I could have kept him behind me, and that's what ended up transpiring. So a little bit difficult further into the race with gravel and dirt all over the track in unexpected places. So I think there's been some grass cutting being done in the cars behind, but yeah, pretty comfortable race really. Got a good start, everybody else sort of bunched up, and then just sort of maintained it from there. So yeah, pretty textbook really.
Richard, race 1 out of the way and a podium finish. Got to be pleased with that.
Yeah, perfect. 4th on the grid, or 4th in qualifying, 4th on the grid, and then to get a podium is yeah, I moved forwards, and that's the main thing. So it was good.
So it gets the monkey off the back for the season. You relax, well, not relax, but you can take it slightly easier, getting those points in the can now.
Yeah, it's nice to get the points on the board sort of thing, and then but you know where you are as well. You know, I'm capable of a podium, so I just need a second or a first now. So yeah, it's good.
Simon, glorious weather here at Donington Park. Race 1 out of the way, super race, very popular with all the drivers and a good clean driving amongst them all. Third season now for this series, and we're going from strength to strength, aren't we?
Yeah, it's getting better each time we go out. Cars are getting more reliable. I mean, last year was absolutely fantastic, the reliability. Hopefully we'll start off this year the same. And every car came in, everybody came in with smiles, or 99% of them came in with smiles. Yeah, good race, excellent race, and I hope that's what follows on for the rest of the year.
Now, I touched briefly last season, but I think we'll go a little bit more depth this time in the fact that one of the key, or two of the key points really of this, I think, attraction is the fact that all the cars are exactly the same. They're prepped by your good selves. They're all of equal power. It's down to driver standards, driver quality, and racecraft. Plus also the fact, second race, we've got the reverse grid, so it's great variety for all.
Yeah, it should be good. We're going to have Mark Proctor coming back, and he's going to be on pole for this next one. So we'll see how he goes on with that. Yeah, everything's just coming together nicely. We're enjoying it. We've got the sun out. Let's just hope that race 2 goes as well as race 1.
Now, as well as coordinating the series, you run a business which is actually title sponsor for this round, so Swan Flight, known to many, but just tell us a little bit about Swan Flight and what it does.
Yeah, with Swan Flight, I mean, we started back in my DJing years when I was young in 1994, making a few record boxes, and now we make cases all the way up to F1 across the motorsport, as well as all the entertainments and events. Most of the jobs we do is B-Sport. We're actually known as mass producing bespoke cases, you know. That's how it works, you know. It's very rare somebody wants 10 cases all the same, so just about every case we churn out is a custom case.
Testament to the clean racing out there. We have 1 hour from the end of race 1 to the start of race 2. Everyone's just having coffee.
Yeah, well, we were worried about that when we saw the timetable. It was either going to be 12:30 or 7:30 because of the 5-hour endurance in between. And of course, all the mechanics were panicking, like you say. They all stood around chilled because it was good clean. I think there was one slight contact which is going to take 20 minutes to fix, nothing major. So yeah, we're straight back out. Just hope this race is just as good and we can go on to Silverstone with no damage to fix.
Always great to see new drivers on the grid. Pretty established driver in your own right so far though, Simon. What have you done so far, and then what encouraged you to come to the Focus Cup?
Yeah, so I started off in karting when I was about 10, so quite a long time ago. Then we went to I did a little bit of Formula 4 as it was then. We did a couple of rounds in that, and then got up and running the VW Cup from 2014 to 2016. 2017, 2018, I did Brick Car, so I did it with my teammate Tom. We won that the second year in the GT4 class. 2019, I did 5 rounds of the Ginetta Super Cup, which was great fun, very hard. 2020, obviously with everything going on, we took a year out, and then 2021, we've come to the Focus Cup.
A little bit different, diesel car as well, which some people think, oh, diesel, is that going to be a bit slow or whatever, but there's pros and cons. I mean, they're actually pretty rapid, these cars, and it makes it pretty close racing.
Yeah, well, the racing's really close. So my first race I've just finished, so yeah, the racing's close, it's competitive. The car is obviously completely different to what I've done before, so I haven't driven a front wheel since 2016. So we had a session last week at Brands Hatch on a track day, so I got myself sort of familiarised with the car. And yeah, loads and loads to learn. So learning a lot yesterday, learned a lot today, and hopefully take that into race 2 really.
Now, if I say what's your aims for the season, obviously you want to win. Realistic aims, where do you want to be?
So my aim, I set myself some objectives for this weekend, which was to qualify in the top 5 and grab 2 podiums. For the season, I think I'm aiming to win the championship. I think that's where I want to be. Qualifying on the front row today, I think shows that we will have some pace. It's just learning the car and the starts, which was horrendous today. But yeah, I want to win the championship, and I think it's going to be more of an accumulation of points rather than, just trying to go as fast as possible and win everything. So.
Well, what you've done so far, it's not about getting the checkered flag in first place every time. It's consistency, getting to the end and points.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what I'm aiming. You get points in qualifying here. If you qualify pole, it's as much as a race win. So yeah, you've got to be on it from the start, and if you're qualifying it in the top area, you're going to get points there, be in the mix for races 1 and 2. But yeah, I'd rather finish second in every single race and win the championship than win half of them and finish nowhere in the rest of them.
Gary, second place in race 1, a very busy day for you with various championships going on, but getting ready for race 2. Just talk us through race 1, how was it?
Really good, I got a really good start. Scott got a really good start as well. It was a case of I got into a nice rhythm, started catching him and just run out of laps really. So, but fingers crossed, another good one this time.
Here's the grid, partially reversed with Mark Proctor on pole position, Spencer Fortag alongside, then Simon Rudd and Richard Davis row 2, row 3 Gary Mitchell and Scott Parkin. Simon Tomlinson and Simon Ward next up, Branko Kiprovski and Lewis Ryan on row 5. They're followed by PJ Gardner and Charlie Barr, Simon Watts, Robert Morgan from Joe Baker, Claire Avis and Simon Walton. How good is it to see Mark Proctor on pole position? Granted a reverse grid, he's going to be happy to have a start from here, and we're really thrilled to see him there alongside Spencer Fortag. Green flag from the back of the grid. Let's have a look and see if anyone has a problem with the start. A little bit of movement there maybe from P2. We'll leave the organisers to sort that one out, but away they go. It's a good start from the front row by Mark Proctor. Up through the gears they go. Was there momentum for the 4 car? It's a great start anyway. And good momentum from Spencer Fortag, who grabs the lead. Proctor in second position. Simon Rudd is in third. Much better start from Simon, who's in front of us here. Gary Mitchell trying to follow through on the inside of race 1 winner Scott Parkin in the Powerflex car. So Parkin running in 4th place, Mitchell 5th, but as they come down through the Craner curves for the first time, it is Spencer Fortag looking for his first win in the championship with the Powermax car of Mark Proctor following him. I tell you what, they've all made a brilliant start. The reverse grid pinching an idea or mirroring really what happens in touring cars, but it's a really good innovation. And these cars, of course, being evenly matched, it makes things really, really close as Parkin makes the move. He's side by side at the moment with Mark Proctor, runs off into the dirt. There was certainly no forcing off into the dirt there. Everybody being given pretty much enough room. So it's Simon Rudd still in 3rd place. Interesting to be reminded of his background in that interview, as well as Gary Mitchell comes through on the inside of Scott Parkin. Now Scott not afraid to hang the car out the outside. Coming up and running well is Kiprvoski, and look at this, down the inside line of that Simon Moore is just passing. Simon Moore running very strongly in the Liquid Molly car, up ahead of Richard Avis in this one. Remember, Avis was on the podium in race 1, so it really does shake things up, the reverse grid. And Proctor, I think, now about to be passed. He's certainly, the nose of his car is in behind Simon Rudd's car. Rudd goes over the curbs and Scott Parkin goes past Mark Proctor. So Procky down into 5th place because Gary Mitchell in red has gone through as well, and doing a Scott Parkin out front is Spencer Fortag, breaking the toe, getting away. But here's the battle for 2nd place, and Scott Parkin goes up the inside line as they come down to the old hairpin. Now we've got Gary Mitchell coming up as well. Simon Rudd, we've got some super drivers in this championship, and what a race we're getting from them all here. So it's Parkin in P2, a race 1 winner. But are they going to be able to close down on Spencer Fortag? Don't write Mark Proctor off, he's there as well. Then we've got Branko Kiprovski just behind Proctor at the moment, and Mark, of course, seasoned campaigner, will know exactly what to do to try and chase that. He's still learning these cars, very much thinking about it. Rudd, of course, and Proctor both raced in Ginetta. I don't think at the same time, but both of them coming into Focus Cup with that on their CVs. Mark, of course, much better known as being a touring car driver. So along the Wheatcross straight we go again. Spencer Fortag, who set the fastest lap in race number 1. We shouldn't be surprised that he is out front, and Simon Rudd goes to the inside, then jumps to the outside line here, trying to pass Gary Mitchell. Proctor next up. Kiprovski is running in behind him, on board with Mark Proctor again. Out to the curbs at Redgate, through Hollywood, down in towards the Craner curves we go once again. Love the point that Simon Rudd made about the points, actually, as well, that effectively qualifying, to reiterate, is effectively like another race, points-wise, and it's unique to this championship, and I think it means that everybody, you know, is on the case straight away. There's no point in, not that anybody would sandbag in qualifying, but it means that of course, with the cars equally prepped, it's possible to do that, and it means it sort of adds a sprint element or a time attack element to the championship, which is great and unique, and another superb selling point. Kiprvoski trying to close in here. This is the view from the Macedonian's car. 9th position in race 1, 7th in qualifying, so some good points for him. First and second reasonably well spaced at the moment. Kiprvoski's hard charge in the prize drive car. Keep your eyes on social media for future prize drives. Across the line they go, and things settling down very nicely now for this second race. Simon Rudd about to look at Gary Mitchell, comes out of the slipstream, looks down the inside line, not quite close enough in the Cartech machine to be able to make a move. Up ahead of him we've got Scott Parkin, the race 1 winner, 6th position now with Kiprvoski. Once again as they come down through the Craner curves. Now we've got first and second separated by a gap, another gap back to 3rd and 4th, but as you could see, Gary Mitchell entering his 3rd season with us in this championship, one of several drivers on the grid to do that. A lot of drivers staying with it and enjoying it. I love the shots that we had in between races. It was only an hour, but some good camaraderie and chilling going on in the paddock, apart from the organisers who had to really, as you heard, work really hard. Simon Walton and the team having to work so hard to get everything in ship shape ready for race 2. As we ride on board again with Scott Parkin, race 1 winner. We didn't use too much of his on board in race number 1 because it was empty track ahead of him, but this time he's got the race leader Spencer Fortag, the man from Rochester, ahead of him, and the Powerflex car is closing up and getting very much closer, and we could well have a challenge on for the lead before too long. Down the Wheatcross straight we go once again. Very close between first and second. In car with Scott Parkin again, looking to make it a double here this weekend. Comes down into Redgate. Is he going to be able to make a move? Doesn't look like it at the mo. Gary Mitchell now up into 2nd position. Race 1 winner Scott Parkin down to 3rd, and it's Spencer Fortag who leads the race, but there is a investigation going on into the start. The officials are looking at whether he was moving before. Who would want to be a race official and do that? Well, I can tell you that they've come through with the decision that he is having a penalty, added a 10-second penalty for a jump start. Now I'm sure that will be probably discussed afterwards, but for the moment 10 seconds added onto his time. So although he leads on the tarmac, he's actually showing a little bit further back. So the race leader therefore at the moment is Gary Mitchell. We've got a change on the timing screen for 2nd place here, because Simon Rudd goes through on the inside line. Simon Rudd 3rd on the road, 2nd on the clock now, and Scott Parkin down to 3rd. Rudd clearly getting to grips with this car now. It's his first outing in the championship, as we've heard. Got a really good pedigree of racing, equally as we heard, in between races with the interview, and it could well be a podium interview this time around. Down behind Scott Parkin we've got Mark Proctor, and then the yellow car of Branko Kiprovski still running strongly with this lead group, and nobody really able to make a breakaway at the moment. If we watch the 6 go through, and a gap back to Richard Avis, who's running in 7th place at the moment. Wide line there by Parkin, and Mark Proctor, I tell you what, he won't need a second go at that. Slots the car through on the inside line. Equally, Parkin is going to fight back on the outside line here and see whether he could just get his nose in front as they come down into the Roberts chicane, but it's Fortag still out front from Gary Mitchell. Proctor does consolidate that, and it's Kiprvoski now who's starting to try and reel in the race 1 winner, so the points are going to be fascinating here. In car with Simon Watts, a little bit further back, and dicing with Robert Morgan. Robert Morgan immediately in front, the number 7 car, the 57-year-old from Melton Mowbray. These two racing for 15th and 16th place at the moment. The safety devices car of Morgan has the upper hand at the moment, but you can see here Simon Watts is getting closer and about to mount a challenge to come down towards Redgate. I don't think he's going to be able to go for the burn up round the outside, but he might get more momentum here from this wider turn in, get the momentum to maybe pop a challenge in going down the Craner curves and into the old hairpin. Meanwhile, we go back to the race leaders. Spencer Fortag still heading the group, but remember with the time penalty, Gary Mitchell is 2nd, therefore 1st on the road. And Simon Rudd is setting about challenging for that clock lead and has teed himself up on the inside line here. A good exit from Coppice for Rudd. They're going to be side by side coming down into the Roberts chicane. Are we going to see a change for place here? Mitchell's try, I think Mitchell's conceded that. He doesn't want any damage, and Rudd positioned the car well. The Cartec machine, that was set up a little way back and well thought out by Simon Rudd, who takes the lead on the time clock. Meanwhile, here is this battle between Watts and Morgan, which still goes on, and they're side by side. Super racing between the pair of them. We're in car with Robert Morgan, and you can see in the mirror, the driver's mirror just disappeared out of the mirror now. The 23 car of Simon Watts has got the inside line here, just as Simon Rudd did, to grab the lead. Oh, we're going to be a little bit of gravel picked up as a little bit of straight lining of the Roberts chicane. No damage done there, but you can hear the gravel. Even though they didn't go through the gravel, there was some of that material there, and you could hear it underneath the car. Now, Charlie Barr was a little bit of a star in race number 1. He is dicing with Lewis Ryan. They're fighting hard. Dives down the inside line. What a pass that was by the Team Dynamics machine on the K&N Filters car down at the old hairpin. Super bit of racing, and Lewis Ryan's got to try and get his head down and get that one back through Schwartz. Meanwhile, we go back to the leading 6 cars. And Gary Mitchell trying to get back ahead of Simon Rudd. Spencer Fortag starting to develop a little bit of a lead at the moment, but it's not 10 seconds as Mark Proctor dives down the inside line of Scott Parkin, grabs a bit of curb. Parkin does as well. Great move by Proctor. These two having a great fight of it. Sets us up well for the rest of the season, which incidentally is 8 events. We're at Silverstone next time out. John Baker dicing with Simon Ward here. Great racing guy. Oh, Simon Ward goes across the gravel. He was under pressure there. John Baker in the mix. Claire Avis coming into shot as well. So the Swan Flight car running well. John Baker gets a great run here down the straight. You have to say Simon Ward probably lost a little bit of momentum there. Turns in. Oh, and on the grass, and he's a passenger and off into the gravel. That surely is going to be a retirement for Simon Ward. Let's have a look again. Now, he hit the gravel at the previous chicane, and that may well have affected things. As he came down, he wouldn't have known that he had the problem until he went on the brakes, coming into the braking zone there for Redgate, but he goes straight on and into retirement, our first retirement of this race. So now we're back with our lead 6 car. In fact, it's 7 cars now, because right on the back of the leading bunch of 6 now is Richard Avis, has reeled them in. This is great stuff. Superb drive from Avis. Loads of dicing going on at the front. You can see Rudd is now dicing with Fortag for the visual lead as opposed to the clock lead, and dive down the inside by Richard Avis. That's the number 2 car of Branko Kiprovski, and that was a lunge from the Eastbourne man, having a look down the inside line, and that's upset the top 6. They're no longer 6 cars in a line. Spencer Fortag still out front. Simon Rudd is second but first on the clock, I remind you. Richard Avis still going. Branko Kiprovski, well, if he had damage, I'm not sure it's caused a problem. He's now followed by PJ Gardner. So Gardner nips through, and I think that the Kiprvoski number 2 car may well have picked up some damage there. He's probably going to be trying to work out if there is anything wrong with the car. So we ride in car again with Scott Parkin, P4 here, so it's going to be pole, race 1 win and P4 if it stays like this, or P3 sorry, because of the time penalty with Spencer Fortag. And I do find penalties hard, particularly the car was barely rolling, but rules are rules. If that's what the officials decide, then that's what the drivers have to live with. Back on board with the Powerflex car, coming down the main straight once again, or the last straight before they come into the Roberts chicane once again. A quick look at what the other drivers are doing. John Baker here, now just left with Claire Avis for company, and Claire has only got 1 car to worry about now rather than 2 immediately in front, with poor old Simon Waugh winding up in the gravel. The leaders though are on the last lap. So Spencer Fortag with his penalty, and at the moment it's going to be Simon Rudd who will take the win. Gary Mitchell is next up from Scott Parkin, a little bit of a gap back to the other cars. Let's just have a quick look. Are we going to see the other machines coming? You can see Richard Avis in 6th place, 5th on the clock, then Mark Proctor. Now Rudd would dearly love to get in front, because I'm not sure that he will know about the time penalty. So he will want to try and get in front of Spencer Fortag. Goes tight there, as a little look. This is bringing Gary Mitchell back into play as well in the 44 car, so Simon Rudd might have to start going defensive, but Mitchell's found a bit of room. You can see the outside line on the climb up into Coppice, goes down the inside, grabs some lock on the car. I don't think following that he's going to have the momentum here out of Coppice and down Exhibition Straight. Indeed, that is the case, and it looks like Rudd is going to have to content himself with second on the road, but will take the win on the time clock. We've got a challenge for second on, because Scott Parkin's coming through, but he's on the outside line, and Gary Mitchell very late on the brakes there and comes back into position. The checkered flag will go out officially to Simon Rudd, who has his debut win. Spencer Fortag, remember, with the penalties. Rudd from Mitchell, Parkin, Richard Davis next up from PJ Gardner, and Mark Proctor next up. PJ Gardner going through, the rest of the runners still going. John Baker here up ahead of Claire Avis. Simon Walton in the Corvo car is there as well. First look at Simon in this race, and closed in on Claire Avis in the closing stages of that very entertaining race.
Well, that turned out better. So 4th in first race and then 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, much better. I've managed to get my start right, which gave me at least a bit of an opportunity to fight with the boys. I did lose a little bit to, I think Scott and Gary got me off the start, but then we made a few changes on the setup for me, which brought the car back later on during the race, and that's when I managed to sort of pick them off. So yeah, really happy.
Well, that worked out well. There's a lot of battles there at the front.
Oh, definitely. It was good, clean racing. The reverse grids, just I think the entertainment value is fantastic, and it makes it hard work for us to start picking through people and making people make mistakes and taking advantage of it.
Well, that was a busy race for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot less straightforward than the first one, but I knew that was going to be the case. Got a pretty good start, sort of fighting for 2nd, 3rd place around the outside of Redgate, which were always going to be a difficult move to pull off, especially with a lot of crowding sort of the inside of the corner. Shoved off onto the grass, did a bit of off-roading, which were nice. Managed to sort of keep, I think, 4th place up to the top at McLean's, and then just got shoved off wide again, just in there, probably not defending the inside quite as much as I needed to, so I lost a little bit of momentum then, and then started reeling everybody back in. Got into 2nd place just behind Spencer, and just as I got right up behind him, the coolant temperatures went through the roof, and then on these cars you just start, the power starts getting dialed back a little bit, so then I was just a sitting duck through Craner curves. Then I just got swamped and ended up back in 4th, I believe, and then some good battles, very good battles, a lot of clean racing, some definite cutting of some corners that has resulted in my windscreen having more chips than it had this morning, but yeah, that's racing, some good close racing, so yeah, that's what we come for.
Well, some post-race investigations rescinded the penalty for Spencer Fortag. He takes the win. Congratulations to him from Simon Rudd and Gary Mitchell. Scott Parkin 4th from Richard Davis. PJ Gardner 6th from Mark Proctor and Lewis Ryan. Charlie Barr next from Simon Tomlinson and John Baker. Claire Avis in 12th from Simon Walton, Simon Watts and Robert Morgan. Fastest lap, Gary Mitchell. The championship standings look like this as we head to Silverstone. Scott Parkin with a 4-point lead over Gary Mitchell. Spencer Fortag in 3rd ahead of Simon Rudd. Thanks for your company today. Congratulations, Scott Parkin, on the championship lead. We'll see you next time at Silverstone.